What's good, fam? Welcome to Saturday. Haha. It's 1 week before the Valentine's weekend. That's crazy. Really crazy. But what's crazier is that we have an amazing guest coming into our station today. Her name is Sally, and there's so much we're going to talk about. So, you ready? Stay tuned. Hey, Sally. Hello, welcome to the playroom.
I'm excited. You know what you should do?
Yeah.
I'm taking a photo of the podcast setup because I can post it on social later.
Okay, let's actually do a quick snapshot. Hold on, let me record this. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Let's take a quick snapshot. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Got it.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. You look so nice this morning. This afternoon, actually.
Thanks for giving me the grace for the extra time.
You're welcome.
I took my time. I was on another call that ran long, and then I was like, wait, I had not even set up. So I had to ask you, if I need to, look right, if this is going to be, broadcasted as it is.
Yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome. Finally, we've been able to actually get into this space because this is a different place than you would see on social media or even on Clubhouse where we met. So
shout out to Clubhouse.
Shout out to Clubhouse for sure. It's amazing that, you're out here doing what you do that you love, because that's what everybody likes to do once in a year or at least once with their family. So you're the right person to talk about this because I think you have more experience than anybody listening right now, if I'm not mistaken. So I definitely think this is a place to, iron sharpens iron. So if you know something, you can know always something better to work with. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you. So first of all, let them know who you are because they're wondering, who is this speaking?
Well, thank you so much for having me on. Your platform is great. So I'm very appreciative that you did reach out. And thanks to Clubhouse, we got to meet. So shout out to Clubhouse. My name is Sally G. I am Kenyan, living in the U.S. So I've been living in the U.S. now for about 19 years. I am a travel enthusiast, so I absolutely enjoy travel. So I've traveled to about 40 countries to date, majority of those solo. So in any conversation I have with anybody, the travel part always comes up because it's such a huge passion of mine. So I always like to share what I've learned, how I can spare someone from making a mistake that I probably made, or if I could help them travel further and longer without breaking the bank. You know what? If they can learn that from me, I feel like I've won. So that's my mission in life, is to really get people excited about traveling the world. I know it's tricky right now with COVID, for sure. It's limited with all the restrictions, but I want people to get excited again because hopefully with the vaccine being here now, once we all get it, we'll have more confidence to get out. And the reason behind that is because our world is so beautiful. And you'll never get to actually experience it until you get out to certain places. You can only read so much or watch so much TV, which is where most of my inspiration came from. But being in certain places does something to you. It changes you. Like the global intelligence that you acquire just from travel, the connections you make with people that you'd have never met, the respect you earn of other people who are very different from you in terms of how they were raised, their values, their religion, and being able to get along, just that human factor just moves me to no end. And again, the world is truly beautiful and everyone should get out and see it. So I talk about that a lot, which I know is what we're going to be discussing today. Yeah,
that's amazing. 40 countries? Did you plan this 40 countries or did they just happen to you because you're in that space?
It wasn't planned. What I will say is I've had the desire since I was very young. Since I was a kid, I was that child who, no kidding, when we were in the playground with the rest of the kids, I would look up and see a plane over me. And I would always wonder, who was on that? Who's on the plane? Where are they going? I wanted to go to some exotic location. And mind you, I was a little girl in Nakuru, Kenya. So they're probably just flying like domestic within the country.
Yeah.
But I always had the fantasy that these people were going to like the most amazing destinations.
Wow.
And I wanted to be part of that. Since I was a kid,
Wow.
I was fascinated by that. And then my dad loves to travel as well. We didn't travel international, but we did travel throughout the country by road. So it was always exciting to look forward to these trips. And you can imagine as a kid, you're kind of impatient as well.
Yeah.
There yet. There's that excitement and anticipation of arriving at the destination. So I've always had it in me to want to explore. So it didn't happen until, well, I travel in the country mostly, obviously.
Okay.
But obviously books, comic strips, like Tintin was my favorite comic book.
Hey.
He traveled the world. So
Yeah.
the book is actually called The Adventures of Tintin.
Exactly.
So I got to like just read and see him go to all these fascinating places I've never heard about. So books and movies and books always made me excited about it.
Wow.
But I didn't leave the country until I was not 19, I'm sorry. I tried to when I was 19, but I never got the visa to come to the US to study. So I tried. It was at the third try when I was 22 years old that I got to come to the US.
Wow, you were persistent.
At that time, I really wasn't. I'd given up. But my mom kind of pushed me to do it because she knew the desire that I had. I mean, I wanted to study, but all the travel part aspect of it was there.
Wow, that just took me back too, because it reminds me of when we were in Nairobi and we had the chance to travel, because the one thing is that my parents love traveling too, so I picked it up from them. And it's also their anniversary today, so shout out to them.
How many years?
They're going in 28 years.
It's incredible. I'm telling you. 5 years is a lot. 28? My goodness.
Yeah.
We need to find out what's the secret.
What's the secret? I honestly feel like the secret would be, I mean, I don't know the secret because I'm not 28 years into marriage, so, but I definitely know that from what I've seen from them growing up, seeing the family that they raised and how we were able to communicate and especially be friends with strangers, and also allow, like you said, human touch, human connection, spiritual connection. It's not just, oh, you're a stranger, I'm not going to talk to you. This might be your destiny helper. This might be your next stepping stone. So you don't want to put someone down because they're not from your tribe, or they're not from your country, or they're not from your space, or they're not going to the same place you eat. So it's different how I got to see that. And one day it was a completely up to me decision to make, because it was like either we're getting DSTV or we're going to Mombasa, because I wanted both. And this was my first time. Yeah, Mombasa, Kenya. And it was like, Favor, you make the decision. And I was like, if we have the DSTV, we're gonna have it, but we're not gonna travel. But if we travel, at least I can be able to enjoy. So I picked Mombasa. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And then when we got there, we got back, the DSTV was there now. I was like, oh, wow, that was a really cool trick that we were able to now go to a place we've never been. And then ever since that time, I always kept going. Watamu, some beautiful places. So for you, I can imagine how you've seen these things evolve from just an early childhood. That's why I said you brought me back, because I was like, wait a minute. I remember when we used to travel, and it was a beautiful experience. But there's a difference between bonding.
Siblings and parents, it's priceless. Which
Yeah.
is why I encourage parents to take their children when they travel, to take them places. Most parents think maybe my child is too young, they may not appreciate this experience. But so many of my memories, my favorite memories, are from when I was very young and going to new places. And I'm so glad I wasn't denied that opportunity, because it got me curious, and it opens up your mind in so many ways. I'm also very impressed with you that at a young age, you chose experiences over something monetary, like cable TV. I mean, yes, as much as we like it for the entertainment value, you chose an experience.
Yeah.
And I tell people this all the time. I'm like, let me tell you, money comes and goes. Money really does come and go.
Especially with traveling.
Time doesn't. And I say, when you buy experiences, you're not losing. It makes you richer. So for me, I travel again is my passion, but I say travel is a thing. Well, I didn't say it. Someone said it, but I agree with it.
Yeah.
But travel is the only thing you buy that makes you richer.
Wow. Say that again.
Travel is the only thing you buy that makes you richer.
Yeah, that had to be emphasized.
It's not. It's what it does for you and for your soul.
Yeah.
It does so much more for you than just spending money on like for instance, people have the option on a weekend when we used to be able to. You go out to the club, you want to do the bottle service. You could end up spending about $2,000 on a weekend.
True.
Then I'm like, look, and you're still in your own city. I said, but look on the flip side. I can get a deal online, which we're gonna get into it later in this conversation.
Yeah.
But I was able to go to say Barcelona for a weekend, Barcelona, Spain, and spend less than $600 for that entire trip.
What?
So I'm like, what would I pick? Do I go to Barcelona or do I just go to a club in town and spend that money and have nothing to show for it? That's
a strong one you just gave them. Who would not pick Barcelona over a weekend that you've been in 20 times, 50 times?
People, and mind you, there's a time and place for everything. Clubbing is good. We need that interaction with our friends to bond. Music is great. I'm all into that.
Yeah.
But there's certain ways you can spend your money better.
That's true.
You can stretch your money farther if you travel smarter. So it's not even just about travel. It's about many things in life that you could do as opposed to spending money in a frivolous manner.
Yeah, that would bring me to my very first question. How can you afford to travel? Like, I don't even want to expand on that because I want you to take that as an open-ended question and just tell us your thoughts. Just give us a breakdown.
It's my favorite thing to talk about. And I'll tell you why it's my favorite thing to talk about. Is because I will say in 2016, I had a full-time job. I was earning a modest pay. And I mean, by modest, I'm talking about, I think at the time, was it 2016? No, that was before, right before I got a promotion, but I wasn't earning that much money, to be honest. I think it's probably maybe $50,000 a year, or maybe less. I don't quite remember it keenly. And that's not too long ago. Things did change eventually, but that time, not quite. But I had a full-time job, and I traveled to I traveled every quarter abroad.
Wow.
So that year, I did 7 countries that one year. And even during the weekend, I was able to still travel within the US. And the question I got the most from people was, how are you able to do this that much with a full-time job? Secondly, how are you able to afford it? Because people have this assumption that if you're traveling that much, you have a lot of money, or you're wealthy, maybe trust fund, kid. There's always things that they throw out at you.
Right.
Or a man is paying for you. As a female, it always comes to someone else is taking you on these trips and things. And it was hard for them to believe that I was going on these trips solo. That was one thing.
Mm-hmm.
My own boss who knew how much she was paying me, obviously, was like, how are you able to do this? What exactly are you doing to be able to do this much? And I got asked that question so much, and so many misconceptions came up that I was like, you know what? I'm going to talk about this. I'll tell people it's no rocket science. Honestly, there's no tricks or gimmicks that you need to do.
Yeah.
You're not scamming either, because we know that's the thing that happens. But you can travel. You can travel I'll call it you can travel well without having to break the bank. You don't have to be. Everybody has a different travel style. I prefer more the luxury side. I will say that because I have worked in hospitality for so many years. I worked in a hotel, and so I'll begin with that part. So because of working in a hotel, we get employee discounts.
Okay.
So whenever I travel to any part of the world, so I worked for Marriott, which is now the largest hospitality brand in the world, because they ended up buying Starwood Properties a few years ago, and just both of when they came together, it just became the largest hospitality company. But the advantage of that is we get employee discounts, which sometimes are really deep discounts. where
Okay.
I could be maybe Paris is a little bit more. Some cities are more expensive than others.
Yeah.
But I could find a room for $50 a night,
What?
where someone is probably paying. I would say maybe their rate for the night is maybe 200 and above. But if I put my little employee discount code in there, depending on the season, the rates can fluctuate, season and demand. So with the employee discount, I was able to afford to stay in a nicer place, for a lot less.
Do people know about this employee discount, or is this something that you have to, like, someone has to tell you?
People who work in the industry do, because they take
Okay.
advantage of it. There's also friends and family discount. So I don't work for Marriott now, but I still have friends in the industry. So I could always ask them, and it's a favor really that you're asking someone, because they're putting their name on the line by kind of co-signing for you.
Right.
When someone gives you their form, and their name is attached to it.
Exactly.
So you just get to this hotel and act crazy and do, because trust me, it can cost somebody's job. So you can't just get that from anybody. But if you know someone in the industry, they can get you a discount. So that's one way. And then the second thing I talk about, besides having that employee discount and knowing, because some people don't have that knowledge.
Exactly.
So you work for the company and get the discount, or if you have a friend who is in the industry, they can extend their benefit to you if they so choose to. So the employee discount is a lot less if you work for the company. The friends and family discount is probably usually maybe a little bit higher, maybe $30 more.
Okay.
So the employees get a better deal.
Right.
Because they work for the company. So there's that. Another thing to consider, I always say, if you're trying to stretch your dollars, don't travel during peak season. Travel during off season.
When is the peak season and off season in travel world?
It depends on your region. That's what I would say. So Europe, for instance, I'll start with Europe. Europe and the US in general, summertime is peak season for travel. Because think about it, the kids are out of school, so most parents are going on these trips. Most will travel during the summertime. The weather is nice or favorable, if you will. So spring and summer. But summer is usually high season in the US and also in Europe. So that's why if you were to try to find anything, it's gonna, because of demand is high, their prices are also higher.
Exactly.
But guess what? If you just wait, maybe until the end of that season, and this doesn't apply to everyone. If you're a family person, obviously you travel when the time is available, and the children can travel and do all those things. So it gets tricky when you have to consider other people in that way. For me, as a solo traveler, or I would say maybe a single lady with friends, we can say, you know what, summertime is expensive. We're not gonna quite get the discounts that we like. Hotels will be overpriced. Everything will be overpriced, really.
Yeah.
Why don't we travel like in September, for instance? So if you go to Europe in September, or the US, the weather is in the fall, like summer going into fall. The weather is still very nice and you can explore. But guess what? Just because of the fact that kids are back in school, no kidding, rates will go down considerably.
That's a big one.
So traveling during the off season is a great way to, stretch your money.
Right, because I'm thinking about it like this, in a way where if you're traveling in the peak season, you're going to a place that you actually want to be there. So if everyone wants to be there at the same time, chances are you might bump into your friends. So you feel like you're meeting people outside, but you're still outside. And another thing is, if you're traveling to that particular place and you're going in the off season, then you're actually visiting that place with no hesitation, with no stress. It's like a normal day. And that's what you want to find out. It's not crowded.
So like, say you want to go to Paris, one of my favorite cities. If you were to go to Paris in the summertime and you want to go see the Eiffel Tower, my gosh, that Trocadero is one of the places where you get the best view of the Eiffel Tower. There's a platform, and the Eiffel Tower is like right in front of you when you're on Trocadero. That place is so crowded in the summertime, you're literally bumping into other people.
Wow.
But you go there at a different time. In the wintertime, it's not as crowded, but Paris is usually kind of crowded because it's Paris. Where people are traveling. But I always say, if you go to, so there's that one of not traveling, traveling during the off-peak season, right?
Yeah.
Second of all, traveling to places that are not as popular. So I brought up Paris. Everybody wants to go, maybe it's been their dream to go there. They want to be photographed with the Eiffel Tower. There are certain places like, if you went to India, the Taj Mahal. I haven't been, but it's one of my places that I want to visit. If you go, just think of any place that has like a huge landmark or iconic landmark. Think about Australia and the Sydney, the Sydney Opera House.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what it looks like from photos, or the bridge there. So certain places, so those attractions, when I tell you, those places are known for that. So they're going to be busy for the most part of the year.
Yeah.
And you can simply choose a place that you didn't even consider that is so beautiful. You actually get to interact with the locals better. Because if you went to Paris, like in the summertime, you're meeting other tourists.
Exactly.
What you're running into are going to be maybe the hotel staff, maybe those are the locals, maybe, or, restaurants and things like that. But when you go to certain places, like for me, I'll mention the place that I never really considered that much, which was Croatia. When people look at Greece, there's some places that get most attention.
Yeah.
Like Greece will get like Santorini, and we all want to go there when you see the blue waters and the white and blue buildings. Mykonos is one of those, the paved lanes that are painted on. I mean, it's just so beautiful, and it's worth a visit. But people also tend to overlook another option, still in Europe, but like Eastern Europe is much cheaper than Western Europe. And Western Europe is like, say, London, Paris, all of that is Western Europe.
Yeah.
Eastern Europe is where you get Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, Serbia. Austria is also in that area too, because you can easily take a bus. But I went to Croatia with no expectations. And my mind was blown. In my opinion, Croatia is way better than Greece. But Greece gets the most attention. Maybe
that is so funny.
And Croatia became more popular because, Game of Thrones is shot there.
Oh.
Some things are shot there. Like Dubrovnik is where they shot King's Landing.
Okay.
Yes, and then in Split they have some scenes that you'll notice. But whoever picked that location clearly is a location scout. They figured out a place that wasn't crowded, and they got everything that was incredible about the show. So Croatia has become more popular over the years because of that. But it wasn't always like that. And it's so much cheaper than being in Paris or London. So you can imagine the water is incredible. The Dalmatian coast, my God. So it's got both natural beauty from like the fauna and the flora, and then the people are also so warm, which makes it so beautiful.
How's the food?
The food I enjoyed. I actually truly enjoyed it. I have lots of meat and potatoes.
Okay.
And then I have a Kenyan friend there, so she knew like how to find foods that we would like. So I went there for a week and I stayed for 3 months. So I always encourage people like, please don't overlook places that are not, you don't hear about a lot. They're not people don't talk about them on Instagram that much. You'll be very surprised. It's those destinations where it will cost you a lot less and you'll have a much better experience as well.
That's beautiful.
So that's another point, yeah? How are you able to afford these places?
Yeah.
Another option is, people are always looking at the traditional ways of like accommodation. They look at hotels first. And there's so many options now, especially like with Airbnb being here for a few years that we've had it. But Airbnb, the reason I actually love Airbnb for me is you get to stay in some of the most unique accommodation styles.
Okay.
When you think about an Airbnb, you can rent like an entire home.
Right.
So you have a lot more freedom to get around. Because hotels, as much as I like them and the luxury they bring, sometimes they're kind of restrictive. When you say, especially if you're with friends, it's so much better to get like this sick ass house, like you can rent. Yeah. For next to nothing, like my friends and I did. A few years ago, we went to Bali. And we stay, and I'll send you the photos, which you can share when you do share this on YouTube. But I'm telling you, this place, it was a villa. And the most serene place. I mean, gosh. So let me just tell you, it was $800 for the week.
What?
When you see this place, you will not believe. Yes, it came with an infinity pool as well.
Oh so my goodness.
And it came with staff. We had staff to wait on us. So we got food. So breakfast was included in that 800. There's a welcome dinner, and then you can pay for other meals if you want to as you go.
Okay.
But it was 4 of us, so it just cost us $200 for the entire week. If you see this place, nobody believes me when I tell them, but when they obviously go to Airbnb, they can see those listings.
Exactly.
You can also stay in a castle.
No way.
Airbnb. You can live on a boat, like boats that have been transformed into like a living space.
Yeah.
Creative, and they open up their places in that way. So that's the best thing about Airbnb. It's going to cost you way less than a hotel for the most part, and you get so much freedom and the uniqueness that it brings.
Everything you said just sounds individually aesthetic.
My goodness, that experience taught me so much. I did that in Barcelona as well, where I stayed in an Airbnb.
Okay.
Actually, that changed my experience. So Barcelona, the hotels, I traveled to Barcelona, I think it was September. There must have been a big event going on in the city because all hotels were nothing, even my employee discount wasn't working for me because when there's demand, the first thing they do is take out discounted rates.
Okay.
Because they can make the money. So like if you travel to New York during New Year's Eve, everybody goes to New York, to watch the ball drop.
Yeah.
So the hotels are priced so high because tourists, whoever's staying there will pay.
Exactly.
Yeah, so they know there's demand. So when I went to Barcelona, there was an event. Either there was a soccer match, something was going on. So hotels were very expensive.
Wow.
So I found this place on Airbnb that was $30 a night. I had to share with the owner. I'd never done that before. The owner was a female, and I'm comfortable sharing my space with other people usually, but I picked it, and I never regretted it. She was one of the warmest hosts, and to this day I've never stayed with anybody else because I'm usually with friends. We get our own place.
Yeah.
That was the only chance that I had to live with someone. She stayed there, and then she opened up her beautiful home to me, and because she hosts a lot of tourists, she's well versed in she has like books and pamphlets and things prepared to get you ready to explore her city. So you get insider info from the hosts.
That is beautiful.
And the hotels you can too. Well, the hotels have a concierge department, and the staff will tell you things that you don't find maybe on Pinterest or whatever. They'll tell you even the mom and pops places you can go. They'll tell you places to go that gives you value for your money, and not tourist traps, because there's so many tourist traps.
Wow.
Very many.
Speaking of
a quick tip I would give about the tourist traps.
Yes.
Yeah, it's okay to sit and dine in a place where I'm sitting here and you can see the Eiffel Tower behind me. It makes for a great Instagram photo. It really does. But let me tell you what happens with these restaurants. They get so many people coming and going. It's tourists. Locals don't go there. Just like New Yorkers will tell you they cannot stand being in
Times Square.
They'll tell you that. Because it's just very touristy.
Yeah.
So the people who come into these restaurants that are close to an iconic structure or anything, those restaurants know you're coming and go, you never come back. So they never give you their best service. You're transient. They're usually rude as can be, especially for me in Paris. I've not really experienced rudeness per se, but it's there.
Wow.
It's there. But if you go a few blocks away from that place, even to an inner street, you will find a restaurant where they're so happy to have you there. They care about reviews because they want you to they'll give you the best service so you can review them and people will know about it.
Yep.
So they go a long ways. Even the mom and pops, their marketing is not as big. They're not near anything that's major that would attract somebody. So they actually do a lot more to give you better service. So I always think about that. Yes, get that, go to that attraction and dine and have a drink at that place for the experience. But if you're staying for a week, try and do local experiences.
That's a big one. I would definitely, that will actually even bring me to my next question. How do you get over the fear of solo travel? Because you said you travel with your friends sometimes you're by yourself. So how does that play a role for you?
So majority of the time I actually do travel solo. And the reason I travel solo is because I got disappointed so many times. You know, we make plans with friends. Oh my gosh, I found this deal online. So speaking of deals, you just asked me a question, but it takes me back to the previous question.
Okay.
So there are websites that are dedicated to finding new airline deals, like incredible deals. And they post them on Twitter in real time. And even like glitch fares, like for instance, to err is human. Every one of us makes mistakes, including people who work for airlines. Sometimes they'll post the wrong rate by mistake. And these people are so good at finding them and posting them. And if you don't react immediately, that rate is gone. Because as soon as someone realizes, oh my gosh, I made a mistake on the rate, and they go to fix it, it's gone. But if you book it while the mistake had happened, they have to honor the rate.
Exactly.
Like five years ago, there was a huge mistake that Etihad Airlines did. They had a flight from New York to Abu Dhabi for $215. A glitch fare. It was on Christmas. So I think someone was trying to get the holiday off. They were probably just tired. And instead of typing $1,215, it's supposed to be $1,215. They left out that one and posted $215. And at the time, Travel Noir wasn't as big as they are now. And there were a few other places that I used to follow. And they would post these things like, oh my gosh, there's this deal. So you have to book it right away. I reached out to a friend of mine who loves to travel. I was like, oh my God, do you see this deal? To go to Abu Dhabi is $215. And we're like, I know you're in California, I'm in Atlanta. It's gonna cost us so much less to just get a return ticket from Atlanta and for you from California.
Yeah.
Meet up in New York. It's only going to be $215 to go to Abu Dhabi. It will still cost you less than $500. You still will not pay that $1,215. So these places are actually on they're on Twitter. So their websites are so there's the airfare deal. The airfare
deal.
Let me start over. The flight deal.
Okay.
Flightdeal.com is one of them.
Okay.
And then the airfarespot.com. So it's the flightdeal.com and and airfarespot. Not that, but it's airfarespot.com.
Okay. So airfarespot.com and the flight deal.
Airfarespot.com and the flight deal. That one does have the THE. Theflightdeal.com.
Okay.
And those two websites, if you even go there today, I mean, of course, right now they know there's COVID. They're not trying to encourage people to travel. And there's a huge disclaimer on their website that I saw the other day.
Okay.
Telling you that they will not be posting deals until after anything before March.
Okay.
So they have deals from March moving forward. So you can get March of this year, which is 2021. But you can get deals for, say, even later in the year. Just book it anyway. You get, oh my gosh, when I tell you this glitch fares are incredible, and I use them all the time. So I also tell people, sometimes your city may not be a good hub. Like think about Atlanta. We've started getting a lot more deals on Airfare Spot. You get deals for Atlanta a lot.
Okay.
But a lot of the ones you get on the flight deal go with the hubs like New York. New York gets the best airline deals because I think every airline in the world can land in New York.
Yeah.
But Atlanta, they're restricted because of Delta. Emirates does not fly here. There's so many airlines that don't fly into Atlanta. If you book them, you have to book a domestic flight to go to another destination to fly. So what I tell people, New York, you're going to get the best deal most of the time. Houston is another one. California, they also get some pretty good deals for Asia.
Okay.
So I always say, for me, since Atlanta may not have the deal, and I see a deal, say, from Houston, I did that a few years ago when I went to Thailand. I flew to Houston because there was a deal for $800 to go to Thailand from Houston. So I had points, so I used my points, my miles, to fly to Houston, got to see my friends, spend the night there, and then flew to Thailand. It would have cost me about maybe $1,400 from Atlanta.
Yeah.
So flying to another city actually saved me money.
Okay.
So that's another option. Don't always think that your flight has to originate from your home city.
Yeah.
You can fly to another city to get a deal if you see those deals on those websites I mentioned.
Wow.
So, and those deals when they post them, so if you follow them on Twitter is the best place to follow them.
Okay.
And you have to turn on the alerts. You will get a lot of alerts. Some don't apply to you, but every once in a while you'll get a deal you cannot say no to. Perfect example. We flew to Bali with friends of mine. The Bali trip I mentioned, the Airbnb. We paid $400 to go to Bali from Chicago.
That's unheard of.
You cannot beat that. You cannot beat that at all. So Chicago is another hub that gets, Chicago is O'Hare. You get, they have the best, some of the best deals, because there are a lot more international flights flying into that city. So yeah, go to another city, especially if you're not checking a bag. If you're traveling with a carry-on, it's perfect. Your bag will be with you at all time, because what happens when you're flying like that, if a flight is delayed, it delays the whole process. Like if you're delayed from Atlanta, you'll miss your international flight.
Wow.
So you have to kind of plan it in a way. You have to be very strategic again. But if you fly with carry-on, you have your bag with you at all time.
Exactly.
Oh. I don't fly with carry-on. I'll be honest, I don't.
Okay.
So I have to check the bag, but yeah.
Because I was about to say when you spent a weekend and ended up in 3 months, I was like, okay, either you planned it, which you didn't, but you know,
was intentional because I had quit my job.
Oh, so that was like an excursion for you.
I didn't have a full-time job. I had quit my full-time job to travel.
Okay.
So I had the freedom to extend my stay in Croatia.
That's beautiful.